Good morning. It's February 29th, leap year, and this is to my liberal friends. Well, most elections tend to focus on a couple of issues, and what generates the most interest in the public and in the end swings their votes toward one candidate or the other. Now, it's obvious that immigration has become a big issue, and in some polls, it's actually polling at number one. And we've talked on numerous occasions about the impact of illegal immigration and how Joe Biden has basically ignored the problem for the first 3+ years of his administration. And you can be sure that his trip to the border this week is a direct result of those poll numbers, or maybe perhaps the fact that Donald Trump said he was going to visit the border. The issue that normally percolates to the top on voters' minds is the economy. More specifically, how the economy is affecting voters individually. Just about every campaign has a slogan that reverberates around the economy. "Where's the beef?" started out as a slogan for Wendy's hamburgers, but Walter Mondale used it in response to questions from his primary challenger, Gary Hart. "Where's the beef?" was Mondale's answer to Gary Hart's proposal to cut taxes, improve social welfare, and increase access to health education, all at the same time, without showing where the money was coming from. And those of us old enough to remember Ronald Reagan know that he coined the term Reaganomics to boost his economic agenda. Cutting federal income taxes, cutting the U.S. government spending budget, cutting programs, scaling down the government workforce, maintaining low interest rates, and keeping a watchful inflation hedge on the monetary supply was Ronald Reagan's formula for a successful economic turnaround. And you can debate whether it worked or it didn't, but that was his term, Reaganomics. Well, today Joe Biden has tried to co-opt that term by using what he calls Bidenomics. He points to the stock market, the fact that inflation's coming down, although it is going to tick up again for the second straight month, and that gas prices are going to come down from their record highs. But for a lot of reasons, the public is not buying the term, and they're not buying the entire Biden economic agenda. The problem Biden has is he doesn't understand the impact inflation's had on the average person. Praise for Bidenomics from some media sources might lead people to believe our economic situation has never been better. What most Americans are experiencing is far less rosy. Inflation is no longer just a buzzword whispered in economic circles. It's a harsh reality, hammering the wallets of Americans. Families across the nation are feeling the pinch as they struggle to cover necessities like food and fuel. A gallon of milk that cost about $3 during the Trump administration now costs over $4. That's a 30% increase. Unfortunately, wages have not kept up with growing costs. During the Trump presidency, the average price increase for goods and services was a modest 7.6% over 4 years. That's less than 2% in each of those 4 years. Contrast that with a more than 5% increase in prices for each of the last 3 years. This amounts to a staggering 17.6% increase in cost under President Biden's watch, with 1 year still remaining. And this isn't just a blip on the economic radar. It's a troubling trend that spells disaster for household budgets across the nation. These price increases are a direct result of the Biden administration's spending programs. Ironically, one of these was actually named the Inflation Reduction Act, and even liberals have to admit it had nothing to do with inflation. It was a climate act. For blue-collar workers, particularly women workers, the impact has been devastating. Under the Trump administration, real inflation-adjusted, median weekly earnings saw a $63.10 increase for all workers and an impressive $78.80, this is weekly, increase for women workers. Fast forward to the Biden era. The real median weekly earnings have plummeted by $13.20 for all workers and a staggering $23.70 for women workers. Now I'm not talking about I'm talking about real earnings when you factor in inflation. Black workers and Hispanic workers have also fared significantly worse in the Biden era. Black workers experienced $65.70 increase in real weekly earnings in the Trump era compared to $28.80 in the Biden era. Hispanic workers experienced $47.20 increase in real week earnings in the Trump era compared to $7.80 in the Biden era. They're not keeping up with inflation. Middle-class families find themselves grappling not only with skyrocketing inflation, but also the specter of unaffordable housing. Mortgage interest rates have surged by a jaw-dropping 70% in just 3 years. During the Trump presidency, a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage was somewhere in the middle 3%. It's now over 6.5% and closing in some areas at 7% again. Monthly mortgage payments for a median-priced home have ballooned by over $1,000 compared to the Trump era, making the dream of homeownership feel like a digital fantasy, some tangible goal in your life. So is Bidenomics working for the millions of struggling Americans grappling with inflation, stagnant wages, and unattainable housing? I think the answer is a resounding no. And I think the American public understands what exactly Biden was doing when he was spending trillions of dollars without any understanding of what that was going to have effect on their average daily lives. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.